Welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to show my complete video production workflow from start to finish. What cameras I use, what software I use, how I do it all. The cameras I use fall into two main categories. We have the action camera and then a more general purpose in your hand photography type camera. I own three little action cameras, two from GoPro, one from DJI. The three action cameras that I use are the GoPro Hero 7 Black, the GoPro Max. It's a 360 camera, but it can also be used as a 16:9 action camera. And more recently, I bought the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. That's quite a mouthful, so probably OA5 from now on. So the GoPro Hero 7 Black. That used to be my main action camera. 4K footage, 16:9 aspect ratio. Great little camera. But being a GoPro, it has its faults. Sometimes it didn't turn on when you pressed the button. And one day whilst out fishing, it overheated and only recorded the audio. To be fair, it had been recording 4K for 20 or 30 minutes at that point. Next up is the GoPro Max. It's primarily marketed as a 360 camera. A 180-degree lens in the front and the back, and then it's stitched together to give a spherical 360 image. That's 5.3K 360. You can use it as a normal action camera in single lens mode, but it's only 1080p in that mode. But the footage is really good. Fantastic stabilization. Next up is what has become my main camera, the Osmo Action 5 Pro. I shoot in 16:9 4K. When I first got this, didn't like the footage at all. The GoPro was still far superior, far superior. But it was shooting in normal mode. In normal mode, this camera here, oversaturated, bit of halo effect as well, vignetting in the corners, you name it. Normal footage, rubbish. I now use this in D-Log and I apply DJI's loop to it and then tweak that further in post myself. Great camera, good stabilized footage. It wins for me because of usability. You press the button and it just records. GoPro, no. Sometimes you press it, won't record. Sometimes you have to pull the battery out, put it back in, then it will start. DJI works first time, every time. So that's why this is now my main camera. Despite GoPro still, in my opinion, controversial maybe, in my opinion GoPro has still got the wee edge on video quality. But this thing here, it's pretty close, really like it. So I've one last camera to tell you about, and it's this one, the DJI Osmo Pocket Original. So on screen now I'll put up the settings that I use on my action cameras. Some of the settings are general purpose, relevant to all three. Some of them are specific to one model. I also have a few general purpose cameras that all get used from time to time, just depends on what I'm shooting on that day. The biggest, bulkiest camera that I use is this, the Fuji X-T2 with the 18-55 kit lens. It's, wow, absolutely amazing 4K footage from this. But it's obviously a bit bulky to be bringing out on trail rides. So I just use it in the garage, I use it in the garden, If you recall my long-term review of the Marin Alpine Trail E2, it was shot in this. Perfect footage. So for a lot of my talking video shots where I'm speaking directly to the camera, I quite often use this wee camera, the Sony ZV-1F. Excellent 4K footage on this as well. Small, light, compact, flip out screen, you can see yourself. Great wee camera. So now we come to the computer. For a long time now I've been an Apple Mac user. I had a Apple Mac Pro way back in the maybe 20 years ago. Then I went to a laptop, MacBook Pro. No, I had a MacBook first, then a MacBook Pro. Then I went to a MacBook Air, then I'm back to a MacBook Pro. And more recently then I decided, you know, I very rarely need the portability of a laptop. I'll just buy a Mac Mini. So that's what I did when the M1 came out. That was the computer that I've edited most of my mountain biking videos on in this channel. But more recently, just before Christmas there actually, I done a trade-in of that M1 and got myself a Mac Mini M4 with a lot more memory than the M1 had, because the memory was the bottleneck I was having on the M1 Mac Mini. So that's the computer. Apple Mac M4 Mini. Great machine. Can edit 4K video all day with that. So now to the software. You can't have software without a computer. I've spoke about the computer. For the editing, there's basically only two apps I use. There are others, but there's two main ones. The video editing software is from Apple. Final Cut Pro is what I use. And then for all the graphic overlays, I build them in Apple Motion, and they're available then in Final Cut. Pretty simple setup, two pieces of software. Like I said, I do use other stuff. Maybe I want to prepare some graphics, so I use Photoshop Elements for that. Maybe I want to improve the audio of something, so I use either Audacity or GarageBand. Obviously the internet, to download sound effects files and video clips from the internet. What else is there? Yeah, if I want to record my screen, I use OBS software. And I think that's it. So now for the actual editing, the video production process. And I try to apply to the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. I really do have a simple workflow. I attach this to the chin of the full face, on the visor of the open face, and sometimes on the chesty. I prefer it on the chesty because it shows your arms out working the handlebars. But the chesty's like a brass jacket.
That's what she said!
Moving around. Not the most stable footage. It's good. I'd like it to be more stable, so that's why I'm experimenting with GiroFlow. I'll have to do another video on that because the first one I made a mistake with the angle of the camera. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So the workflow. Record your clips in the camera, import them into Final Cut, trim them up as needed, apply transitions between clips, apply color correction if needed. I always color correct everything because I shoot this in LUT. No, I don't. I shoot it in D-Log, then I apply a LUT. Where are we now? We've done the transitions, we've done the color corrections, enhancements, title overlays, stuff like that.
maybe the timers if I'm doing a PB, or at least a PB attempt. And that's basically it. I will export 3 or 4 times, making improvements as I go along, because I find viewing it back on the small viewing area of the editing software, you miss things. So export it, full resolution, view it back full screen, check for things you've done wrong, things you could improve, video clips that you could drop in to improve the humor of the whole thing. That's it. Just a basic, simple workflow.